Good morning.
Good morning. This is Meditation Reflections. Welcome. Another beautiful day in Paradise.
Taranaki for Taranaki, New Zealand, for those of you who might be of other places.
This truly is paradise if you allow it to be and let yourself see that it is. Because we're living in multiple dimensions and can see what we choose to see, and this can be heaven or hell, and both simultaneously. But you don't have to dwell in the dark side all the time and think of misery and how it could be better. Well, it can always be better, but don't dwell in misery. So
that's the whole point of evolution, is making it better.
Yeah, see the brighter side. Anyway, you got some interesting insights.
Well, to some extent, you were talking about the phenomena of being triggered, and I got specific things. You were just talking about the choices you make in the world.
Yeah.
But I got information on triggering, and triggering is when you have a strong emotional reaction that seems to almost come out of nowhere. It's a little bit abrupt, and it's something that you suddenly feel very, very intensely about, and a lot of very strong emotion. And so you have been triggered on a topic. Sometimes people put triggers in you in order to get your behavior to work in a certain direction.
Yes.
And they're built in culturally, or they're built in by a family, like was the McCoys and the Hatfields. They were trained as small children that you always hated the other family, and that's a trigger point, and it was trained in as a particular idea. Or you can be trained in for various forms of racism, or you can be trained in for I always hate seafood. You know, it can be any kind of thing that you suddenly have a strong emotional reaction to. The underlying piece of information is that you're getting a glimpse of a shadow component of yourself that's not really in your control, but has been implanted there to allow other people to control you at some level.
In other words, they're installing buttons.
Oh, that's a good phrase.
Yeah, and when your button is pushed, look out sometimes. Anyway, one of the ways they do that is, and is especially evident in the media if you notice it, is that the news you see nowadays is never neutral. They don't sit there and present the facts with a neutral expression. They always have an opinion on it, and their opinion, according to them, should be your opinion as well. Don't buy into it.
That's an interesting observation, because in the old days there was news reporting, which was facts. And
True journalism.
Yeah, and then there was editorial commentary, and it actually was a different team at the newspaper.
We're getting is
Commentary.
Yeah. And it's not even investigative. They're told what to say. There are very few.
It's interesting how they'll match across the country. Stations, TV stations, entirely different cities in different states. The phrases will be the same.
The exact wording, and if you look for, you can find it.
They'll do a screen with all the people saying the same thing in unison. You go, oh my God.
They're giving their script across the entire country.
I guess we're pointing this out because we're clearly going into a highly focused, highly energetic stage with lots and lots of things going on. So what we're recommending is cultivate your own calmness, kindness to yourself and people around you, and your own little pieces of paradise, which is what you create for yourself to nurture yourself.
Please don't just accept what others are telling you. Do research, find multiple sources. It's very important. And look for opposing points of view as well. Don't just pick one side to look at, because that's what a lot of skeptics do. They'll just look for others as skeptics that believe as they do.
I find myself amusingly old-fashioned now, in that when I was growing up, and this is also the first stages of my education, I was part of debate teams, and a debate team, it's a little school exercise that you occasionally run into in other settings, where you have to argue two sides of an issue. It can be a controversial issue that people come down to an emotional decision on, but we had to learn the facts on both sides and be able to speak for both sides. Both sides of abortion was one of the topics I had to do. Both sides of women's rights. And by the way, this is early 70s when I was doing that kind of thing. So that idea of knowing all the facts around something and collecting as much information as possible, I find calming. I go, okay, but I would add one other thing. You have your heart as a massive discernment tool, and it is what you believe filtered by how you feel about things. Providing it's not a spontaneous emotion that's too large for what's actually happening, i.e. a shadow embedment, or I love your phrase of a button that can be switched on. Well, it's not one of those. Your heart is your best form of discernment. And even if you're reading all this information, you go, what do I actually think about it? What do I think is what I should do about this particular situation or this topic? And those are incredibly important. That's the final point of discernment, is your choices.
Yep, your choice.
Yeah. So be nice to yourself and be kind to yourself and others.
Have a good day.
This is a hard bit of time period, but it's going to have wonderful outcomes because we're all going to make these choices.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. Check out naturalshaman.com, and blessings.
Blessings upon you.